Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingston, and we have a brand new and very special guest with us today. He is an NRL content creator whose takes you'll love and hate. His no-holds-barred approach has seen him build a steady following online, a self-described Fozball apologist, and painfully for me today, he's a big Manly fan known as the NRL Soapbox. Alex, welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
Mate, I'm doing fantastic. Very, very happy after absolutely trouncing your beloved Broncos.
Oh, it's already started. Didn't even get the intro out of the way. Now, do I refer to you as Soapy or Alex, mate? What do you prefer?
Alex is fine, man, yeah.
Alex, awesome. Well, Alex, mate, unfortunately, I've timed this perfectly with you and us being enemies. But before we get into it all, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what got you into the great game of rugby league.
Well, tragically, I grew up as a huge rugby union fan, wanted to play for the Wallabies. That's when rugby was good. And then slowly but surely, my love for the game waned, as well as the quality of the game and the quality of just the Wallabies. And so it was during COVID, actually, 2020. I'd grown up going for the Bears, and then when they became Northern Eagles, became a Manly fan. And that was around that 2008 to 2013 period where we were epic. Lost a little bit of interest, and then around 2020 just got right back into it, was devouring everything and anything rugby league. And then this year decided, hey, you know what? My wife and my mates are sick of hearing my takes on the footy. I'm just going to start subjecting the rest of the world to them.
And, mate, I've watched your journey. It's amazing to see. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
How did you, so you just got into that start. I see you've got over 7,500 on Instagram. You're building everywhere. That journey to get into content creation, just tell us what that journey and that rise has been like so far.
Yeah. Oh, well, honestly, mate, people just didn't like, my mates were sick of my takes. Like I have mates, a lot of my mates are Manly fans, and they were hammering Turbo, who's my favorite player. And so the reason I did it is like, no one really cared about the analysis I'd done on his injuries in the last two seasons, his games out in the last two seasons compared to other players like a Mitch Moses, Latrell Mitchell, Kalen Ponga. So I was like, I'm just going to get this take out there. I'm going to push it out there, see what happens. And then it got a lot of traction, like a significant amount. I had like 10 followers when I hit 100,000 views for that video. And I went, whoa, there's an appetite here for my kind of take. And then I've just been, I was just like, oh, I'm loving this. This is a great community. It's a lot of fun. I get a lot of hate as well.
As you do.
I guess it's like, I've just kind of fallen into this, mate. I don't know really what I'm doing, to be honest.
Is that true? Like, you don't actually know what sort of sets you apart? I know I've had your videos sent to me from a few footy mates. That niche, that interest that set you apart. What do you reckon it is?
Okay, well, I have done some self-reflection. I would think that the niche or the angle that I have is I represent the fan experience. So the Soapbox is in the name. I'm actually not trying to be impartial. I'm not trying to be non-biased. When you see a person on a soapbox, it's because they've got a strong opinion, and they invite people to come and have a crack at them for their strong opinion. So I'm not suggesting that I'm always right either. But when you're at the pub talking with mates, you're unfiltered. You're not worried about hurting other people's feelings. You're not worried about how you're going to be portrayed. And I've just tried to bring that energy onto an online platform rather than trying to play it safe and not upset anyone. I've just been as authentic as I possibly can be. And that for me is passion. Not everyone's like opinionated, strong-willed and fiery, but I'm a redhead and that's who I am. Yeah.
You ticked all the boxes, mate. And you said Bears. What happens next year, mate? Being a Manly fan that you are now, what happens? Yes.
When it got announced, me and my mate had a big chat about it. We both actually, my best mate, we didn't know each other, but he grew up a Bears fan as well. So my folks took me down to North Sydney Oval when they lived in Cammeray from when I was about 2 years old. And he had a similar experience too. And we really chatted about it like, hey, are we meant to go for this team again? But it's been, 20 years since the Bears were in the comp, maybe even longer. I've gone fully in on Manly. I love Manly. I'm a Manly member. It's not a North Sydney team either. It's one game in North Sydney and the rest are in Perth. So it actually wasn't too hard a decision because we love Manly, and this is a different iteration of what the Bears were.
100% agree, mate. I've made that point a few times on the podcast. They have that connection, but it's a Perth team, right? It's not the Bears. No. It's a nice idea and theory for fans, but it's not the same thing.
No.
Now, mate, let's get into it because a
Okay.
big weekend for Manly, a big
Mhm.
few weeks, a couple months for Manly, another sold out crown at Four Pines. I was there for the first ever time as a fan in
Mhm.
my Broncos jersey. It was a painful experience watching on, but I will give you some props because it was an awesome atmosphere. It was amazing. I'd been there for work plenty of times, but we
Mhm.
left our run a little bit late, got stuck at the Four Pines Brewery, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But we did make it there. We sat behind one of the goalposts, and I can tell you, you guys put on a great show. The stadium, the atmosphere. We all talk about Leichhardt and suburban grounds and regional and all that type of thing. But watching football at Brookie, you know all about it. Just the atmosphere, an absolutely great venue. Where do you rank it as far as suburban grounds go?
Well, I do love Leichhardt for its atmosphere. I do think Leichhardt's got some vulnerabilities in the terms of the view you can get from that hill. You miss everything in that corner. Obviously, I'm biased towards Brookie. It's flipping awesome. It's ruthless. It's abusive. The sense of pride and joy for the boys is very high. No matter who you are, if you're an opponent or a ref, you are getting booed off at halftime and full time, even if you've played brilliantly and done nothing wrong. And the ratio of Manly fans to any kind of visiting fan is just astronomically disproportionate. So it really does feel like you're in a prison and it's all Manly fans surrounding you. So I love the atmosphere. I've been to a fair few other what's called suburban footy grounds. They're all fantastic, but you can't beat Brookie when we're winning.
I was going to say, I did hear a few comments from Manly fans. They were surprised at the amount of Broncos there the other night, and I
Hmm.
did get a taste of that abuse you're talking about it, but it was PG enough, so I'll give you
Yeah.
that. It wasn't too, it was nothing crossed the line. I did cop it for them. I did zip up my jacket after the game. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was tough. I didn't want to walk out of there like that. But, mate, the game itself, 32-4 to Manly against the
Mhm.
Broncos, ran for about 900 more metres, only missed 13 tackles, no Jamal Fogarty, Joey Walsh pulling the strings. Mate, just give
Mm.
us your rundown. What did you think of that performance?
Really impressed with Joey, mate. Like, again, he's just a two-gamer, but it was pretty early into the game when he got that 40-20, and that's when I was like, "Gee, this guy's already had two brilliant plays in his two-game career, that pass the week before against Penrith Panthers that I believe stopped time. That kick on the weekend just shows composure, confidence. I love him, man. And he killed it. He absolutely killed it. But the thing about Manly at the moment is it's really hard to know who the best performer is because everyone is just rising. Joey did a great job, but I'm also like cautious to not heap too much praise or pressure on him because we want him to develop. We want him to grow into his game. He's gonna have some games where he does really poorly, but he did brilliantly. And mate, just the composure for such a young man to carry so much pressure and attention and actually deliver. Really impressed.
And the back line too, I've got to say, some nice length of the field efforts. Really
Yeah.
carved us up on the side they made. Exciting tries. It's the brand of football that's being played at the moment. Fozball, if you will. Just
Hmm.
what have you made of that? The attacking flair. It seems like just a
Hmm.
brand new life has been breathed into this team.
Well, the thing about Fozball, mate, is that we didn't know what it was when we were calling it that. Like, he hadn't coached a game and Fozball was already out there. We had suspicions it would be more hard, direct, straight running. I think what Fozball is as a concept is still unraveling, but it definitely includes strong, direct running, very aggressive in the collision. Your outside backs are now wanting to hurt the opponent when they hit the line. Your forwards are looking to just pump through in the contest and get some post contact meters. It's not necessarily like a bunch of offloads and this exciting enterprising play where we get it to our pace. It actually just is more like straight up the guts. That's its first iteration, but you are starting to see as confidence increases, you're going to start seeing more of the streaky plays like Brandon Wakeham. I think it was Wakeham's chip for Clayton that ended up with Calder's try, like that unbelievably Hollywood style try. That's what happens when you're confident and also you're killing the opposition.
So fake news. It's not fake news. Believe the hype. Fozball is real.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also like it's still forming, mate. This isn't the squad he chose. This is the squad he has. So we don't know what he'll do. Mate, if he gets the permanent gig, which seems very likely. We don't know what he'll do when he's got some younger middles in his squad, because maybe he's adapting to the age and experience and lack of pace we might have at the moment. So it could continue to iterate, but right now it's just like, did you say 13 missed tackles?
I believe that was the case.
That's
Yeah. So
insane.
defensively
That's
amazing.
I, that is outrageous with where footy's at the moment in the Volandis era to have 13 missed tackles. And granted, it was a very depleted Broncos squad, but it still has some superstars who can do stuff. And to only miss 13 tackles, man, that is astonishing. So it's definitely a core component of Fosball is make your tackles.
You're talking
Yeah.
about too the reigning premiers. I mean, we know both sides have been hit with injuries, but you're still a
Yeah.
team with Reece Walsh, Paddy Carrigan.
Mhm.
They've still got superstars littered across the park, mate. Now 5-1 after 4, and only a close loss to Penrith, up
Mhm.
to 5th on the ladder. I saw this question floating around before. Could he be
Mm.
the first interim coach to win Dally M Coach of the Year, mate?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we make top 4, definitely, it's gonna be hard. It would be impossible not to give it. Even if you make the 8, even if we make the 8, I mean, he's gonna be a strong candidate, isn't he? Who else is showing to be a great coach at the moment, like overperforming? Maybe Webster. Holbrook's also an option.
Yeah.
But the only two, and even Benji, but there's obviously injuries have hurt them at the moment. So it's a long season. You don't know what injuries are going to do to us. But he'd be right up there, man. Top 3, I reckon.
Fair to say, looking back now, obviously you as a fan watching it very
Hmm.
closely with Anthony Seibold, the rumblings that were happening with him last year. I
Hmm.
asked him a question, I know at a presser last year, where I said, have you lost the dressing room? He
Hmm.
bit back at me a bit and said something along
Hmm.
the lines of, you're just trying to get a headline. But you
Hmm.
see the team, how it's changed after those first 3 games. It's a fair to say that they weren't playing for Seibold.
I don't think it's fair to say they weren't playing for Seabold if the conclusion of that is that these boys aren't professionals who do a job. What I would say is I don't. The general vibe I'm getting from talking to people as well that are connected in there is that they didn't like the style of play he wanted them to play. And I think the biggest example of that, and this is why I think he copped so much crap for 2 years, Jake Trbojevic. But then, and he used to do this weird thing, man. Like he'd hit the line and immediately drop his knees. I assumed to stay on his front and get a quick play the ball, but he made no meters, and everyone was so upset about that. And as soon as the coach changed, he stopped doing that. And it goes to show that obviously they had given Jake a game plan that Jake didn't like, but he was willing to follow through on. So I don't think it's fair to say that the boys didn't play for their coach because they're still playing for their club and they're professionals, and I back them and believe in them. I do think it's fair to say that the game plan that they were being prescribed was either too technical, too complex, or they didn't gel with it. And so when you don't have conviction, even though you're going to be obedient or you're going to apply what your coach has said, it's not the same as if you actually believe in what your coach is saying.
I was going to say that Jake wants a good point because I have noticed a difference just
Mm.
through all these changes. He seems like he's breathed new life into his football. There's been plenty of discussions around him and retiring and all that type of thing. But it's great to see him playing one of the
Mm.
all-time great, if not the nicest guy in rugby league, right? It's
Hmm.
hard not to love Jakey and what he's been able to do. No brainer now, though, looking at
Hmm.
four, and I know we've heard the stories. It seems like the board has shelved plans. I don't know what you've heard as well, but it seems like a no-brainer. Foran's the full-time coach now, right?
Yeah, definitely. From the reports I'm reading, and I have a source there that I don't fully trust, um, but it looks like that's the plan that they've shelved those plans and they're building the coaching squad around him or the coaching team around him. They're like, okay, Foreign's going to be our guy. Who do we need to get in as assistants to help him do what he needs to do? So I reckon, and because it's Foz, and if he's working with Kingy, I think their relationship's pretty darn good. I reckon the deal will get done in the next couple of weeks. I don't think Foz is he's not greedy, mate. He wants this. He's going to make it work. The club, I just hope the club respects him. We've botched some negotiations in the past. I just hope we respect him and get the deal done as quick as possible.
And there's no fear that this is just like, we've seen different teams react to different coaches, that this
Hmm.
won't run out of steam. There's Fozball momentum heading into Origin. This is obviously a tough period for all clubs. It's a weird
Yeah.
period. Are you confident that they overcome this and they're in the 8 come the business time end of the season?
Well, I think there's two things to note there. So there's Fozball as the concept, and then there's the form of the Manly team. So Fozball, in terms of what he's trying to create and instill in the group, I don't. It's not like he's come up with this total football approach. He's just made up some kind of philosophy. It's pretty basic, simple footy. So it's quite reproducible, and it's only going to get more and more embedded in the team's attitude and execution. So I think that's not running on fumes. That's not like the new coach bounce back. That's actually something that works. But form is something different. Yeah, if we get the wrong kind of injury, losing Siwa over the weekend, that makes me a bit nervous. Now we're really going down into the depths of either very young players or very old players like Nathan Brown. Do they have the fitness level to keep up with what Foz is asking of them? That'll be something we need to see. But in terms of the style of footy they're playing, it's not revolutionary. It's just very disciplined, simple, and being consistently applied. So I think that'll last, and therefore I think they're very much a chance of the 8. Absolutely, yeah.
You're betting on it?
Yeah, of course I am. I'm a Manly fan, though.
I know what we're all like, mate. Now, I
Yeah.
just want to touch on the Broncos, of course.
Mhm.
The flip side was really poor performance. I think it's personally probably one of the worst I've seen under Michael Maguire.
Mhm.
55% completion rate, only one line break, 40 missed tackles, and 20 errors. Now, of course, Manly playing well did inflict
Mm.
that on them too, but
Yeah.
just so poor, mate. They brought back Ben Hunt probably a little bit too early. Reece Walsh was restricted to 28 run meters, so obviously
Yeah.
did a fantastic job on him. Not many teams
Yeah.
can say that, like especially in
Yeah.
this attacking football. Like to be able to do that, that's a pretty big tick too, right?
Yeah, totally, mate. Yeah, the Broncos were appalling. Um, like, and I thought it was going to be on when Reece that ball that Reece set up passed for that first try. Was it Reece that threw that? I was
It was beautiful
very
cutout
far
ball
away.
right to the wing. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
It gorgeous footy. So I was like, okay, it's going to be on. And we got a little bit lucky, like with the sin bin at the right time when you're getting momentum. And I know your boys have a lot out in terms of the middle, but you can still hold on to the ball. Again, I just generally think defensive pressure creates that. But it was pretty abysmal. And yeah, what was Hunt doing in there? Was he all right? I don't know.
I have no idea. I think they
Yeah.
brought him back, and I really liked what Tom Duffy had been doing. So I
Yeah.
was shocked that they didn't just give the young kid another crack. Let Hunt, what is he, 37, come
Yeah.
back like a couple weeks early. I thought that was a crazy decision.
Mm.
I'll remain hopeful when Adam Reynolds, Payne Haas, Tony Staggs are back that things will change. But mate, I reckon that's just about the worst performance they've had. And the Broncos Brookvale curse, mate, is it real? Because
Oh, I love it.
let's look back. Of course you do. Looking back to
Yeah.
last year, this was the turning point. We read the story. They went down to what's that pub on the corner at the Corso? They went
Oh,
down
they
to
went to the stain.
they
Yeah.
went to the Stain.
Yeah.
Paddy Carrigan organised this session. It's the catalyst, if we're led to believe
Mhm.
the stories that led to their grand final charge. So I'll believe in that. Hopefully they got on the beers on Saturday night and something has kick-started the season. But that curse, mate, I can't wait to go back to Brookie next time. We'll see if things can change. Hopefully, mate.
No,
Where do
you're
you?
due. You guys are due because we've had to suffer at Magic Round the last few years, giving you a home game and just getting trounced. So I've got no sympathy for Broncos fans right now because I've been at Magic Round in the pouring rain watching my boys get 50 put on them. So no sympathy from me, mate.
All right, we'll give you a little tick
Yeah,
there, mate. That's
yeah,
okay. I did like that being the old Magic Round
yeah.
regular game. I
I'm
thought that
sure you
was
did. Yeah.
beautiful game, mate. I don't know why they had to change it. Why did they mess it? It's not broken, don't fix it. Mate, so awesome. Yeah, no, look, like I said, great atmosphere. I love Brookie. Can't
Mm.
wait to go back there. So, and really good to see what you guys are doing, mate. I just want to get into some Origin chat because obviously
Yeah.
that's what we're all talking about this year.
Mhm.
We're getting very close to game one in Sydney. I want to start with Queensland because they've been dealt a pretty big blow with news that Tom Dearden is out for 6 to 8 weeks with an ankle injury. That was in the Cowboys 33-30 loss to the Eels. Really weird game with that field goal. They made them take a penalty goal. I don't understand what was going on at the end of that one. But massive blow for Queensland. They're talking about Sam Walker bringing back Daly Cherry Evans. Cam Munster luckily had his best game of the season. Storm finally snapping their losing streak. It sounds like Billy Slater could throw last year's team out the window and really blood some bolters. As a New South Wales man, who would scare you most playing for Queensland in the halves?
Who would scare me most? Well, I'd be more scared about experience. Because I think maturity and the ability to handle pressure is kind of the defining hallmark of a great Origin player. So I'd be much more concerned about going up against a Munster Cherry Evans combo than, I'm hearing some people want Ponga in the halves or even throwing in Sam Walker. Experience, I think, counts for a lot, especially where you might have to bring in some bolsters anyway, because it's not like your centres are on form right now. So you're probably going to have to bring in some new blood anyway. So you want some experience there. So that would be more concerning to me, which I know is not the popular view.
No, I know. Like I'm leaning towards Sam Walker just because we have to blood
Mhm,
the youth at some point. But again,
mhm,
DCE, we saw him drop him after being the captain in the first game last year. Obviously, Billy Slater masterstroke, but
mhm.
there comes a time, right, where you just have to say you got to give the young guy a go and put him in there. And the Roosters are obviously on a great run at the moment as well with Sam Walker. Now, as a New South Welshman as well, 8 to 9 incumbents look like they aren't going to be there. Mixture of injury or form. You must love hearing it. Down here, Queensland spirit, we're known for being loyal. It looks like the Maroons are going to throw that out the window. Does that just bring you joy sitting down here in Bluesland, mate?
Oh man, I just posted about that this morning. I think Queensland's have done very well with their hypocrisy and not being pinned for it because you ruthlessly cut your captain of 30 something Origin games. so that you could try and win. What happened to pick and stick? What happened to loyalty?
But we did win. We did win.
Yeah. So winning, totally. I don't judge that. Yeah, pick the team that wins. But when you talk about, you guys have all the options and we just pick and stick, well, that's not actually true. You're also not underdogs. Because you keep winning. So those two narratives absolutely infuriate me when they come up, and I'm not going to stand for it this year. I'm making sure everyone knows that Queensland are not depleted like we are.
Mate, maybe you guys just don't get it.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the proof's in the pudding in terms of results. But I just, naturally, as a fan of New South Wales, I'm like, what do you mean? What don't I get? I'm screaming louder than anyone when New South Wales are playing Queensland. So I resent that sentiment.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the beauty of State of Origin football, right?
Mhm.
This is what we
Totally,
all
mate.
love.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, let's get to you guys because the New South Wales spine is far from settled, right? I mean,
Yeah.
James Tedesco has led the Roosters to 6 straight wins. They just won
Mhm.
28-12 over the Titans, 2 tries, 332 metres. But then you've got Dylan Edwards, who's never done anything wrong, leading the Panthers. He ran for 257 metres. Ivan Cleary pretty publicly backed him to be the New
Mm.
South Wales number 1 after that game. And Ivan can keep things pretty close to the chest. So I thought it was a nice moment for him to back his player like that. Who are you picking number 1 for New South Wales in game 1?
I think it's really tough. You could go either way. But then it comes down to respecting the efforts that players have put in before. And I know Teddy's been dropped, but Dylan hasn't done anything to warrant being dropped. Teddy would be more of an attacking threat. I just don't know what Origin is going to look like this year. Are we going to be seeing the same kind of footy we've been seeing in the competition? Because if it's a really expansive try and score as many tries as you can, then Tedesco's the right pick. If it's going to be that more war of attrition, slower paced, big hits, grinding it out, there's no one I'd want more than Dylan Edwards. So it's tough for Laurie. He's going to have to make a bit of a prediction of what kind of footy Origin's going to be this year, but I'd still pick Edwards for the team connection. There is some people have said I don't know the ins and outs and the X's and O's of footy enough to know if this tactical analysis is correct. But some people think that uh, when Cleary has Teddy in the team, they don't vibe together in terms of Teddy wants the ball more and Nathan likes to have time, and it just creates a bit of manic and panic in the team, and it just unsettles it. Not in terms of like their relationship, just in terms of how they play footy, that they don't gel well together. So if that's the case, Cleary's definitely getting picked, which means I'd want Edwards. Yeah.
Good point. You made another good point there, which is interesting. It's something I probably haven't thought about too much, but we've obviously seen the product of the NRL change a lot with
Mm.
the more 6 agains this year, the incredibly high score lines. Some people calling it glorified touch football.
Yeah.
It's crazy what we're happening at the moment. Some
Mm.
people hate it. Some
Mhm.
people love it. Do you think, and we all know what State of Origin traditionally has been like, it has
Yeah.
been the war of attrition, like you said. It would be crazy to think that they're going to let Origin become the NRL product that it has this year. What are you thinking as a fan then? Surely there must be some of that counterbalance in bringing it back to the Origin game we love. Because if we see 40, 36 scorelines
Yeah.
in Origin, that's not Origin footy, right?
Yeah, and it's not going to be. I would think with the squad Queensland have, if it goes that way, you're going to dominate. With Hammer, Walsh, Ponga, so much pace. We don't have the same kind of pace. So if it becomes of a Landys era kind of origin, then Queensland are very much favourites. If it on your point though about like, is this going to be this really expansive footy where it's just a try fest? There have been a couple of games recently where I believe the officiating's just relaxed a little bit, and the players have been incredibly disciplined. So the Canberra Panthers game was unbelievable that first half. Really, really fantastic. It was essentially perfect in terms of their ball control. And then also the Eagles Panthers game. I think there were only six agains the whole game. That was also a game of just battling each other out and wearing each other down. So I do think that points towards that Origin has the potential to still look like that kind of footy. Um, and especially because the NRL will not want the talking point coming out of Origin to be 6 again, 6 again, 6 again, 6 again. So I think they'll dial it back.
100%. I'd be
Yeah.
shocked if they let it go this way. Like Origin,
Mm.
traditionally, we've always seen these new rule changes sort of get thrown out the window a little bit to come back to a classic style. But yeah, if we see those high score
Yeah.
lanes, mate, I'd just be absolutely shocked. On that, then, who is your spine for game 1 for New South
Mm.
Wales?
1 is going to be Edwards. 6 is going to be Moses. 7 is going to be Cleary. Okay, so 9. Um,
Did I see that Brayley is injured? I don't know if that's short term, though.
So it's not like Brayley was epic last year. I think he's great. I don't see him being more influential as a result than someone like Api Coruscant. So I'm predisposed to just keep a similar spine in Edwards, Moses, Cleary, and Robson, with Appy on the bench, carrying Appy, or going the other. Yeah, no, that's what I think I would do. Yeah, yeah,
Settled? Lock it
settled.
in. Lock it in,
Yeah,
Eddie. And mate, yeah, I'll go for me for
Mhm.
Queensland. I will go with Walsh, Munster, Walker, and Grant. I think that is
yeah.
probably. I mean, the DC would be a big call, but I think that's probably what we'll see, mate.
Mm.
Let's go to my section I call
Mhm.
good or bad for fans, Alex. I like to
Cool.
just throw out a statement. I want you to give us a little bit of a, is it a good or bad for fans? Some will be easy.
Mhm.
Firstly, Robert Toyer. I don't know if you saw that drop ball and that
Mhm.
try on the weekend, just the bunker failing to make common sense decisions. Is that good
Yeah.
or bad for fans?
Terrible for fans, mate. That's a shocker. I think everyone's irate about that except for the parochial Roosters fan. Like, that is a terrible decision. I heard word that the NRL have already apologised to the Titans for that decision. I looked up 4 other tries that were better than that try, that were not given. So, yeah, I don't know what the bunker's thinking there.
Gonna say it wasn't my NRL Supercoach draft team, so I gotta say I was
Yeah,
very, very happy. My
you would have
opponent
been happy, yeah.
very, very pissed at me. Kissed on the dick. Mate, Greg Marzu, 5 tries. Alex Johnson and Jermaine Asako, hat tricks. Say what you will about the product of the NRL at the moment, but some big try-scoring hauls. Good or
Mhm.
bad for fans?
Depends on the fan. I think new fans are loving it.
True.
I think the fan that's looking for excitement and tries is loving it, and they might be a rusted-on fan too. Uh, from my perspective, I don't love it because I'm just not seeing. I just is an indicative factor, or it indicates that defense is becoming much more optional, and tries are being scored a dime a dozen. So that tries mean less too. They just mean less. Errors mean less. Tries mean less. So I actually think the consequences of big actions have lowered. So I don't think it's good because if you know footy, you know, oh, geez, okay, well, it doesn't really matter now. There's not as much tension. Yeah.
Agreed. Mate, Melbourne Storm, they snap a club record 7-game losing
hmm
streak, 44-16 over the injury-depleted Tigers. The big guns finally stood up, and they did it for Craig Bellamy, who
hmm
fronted the media, obviously having some health scares at the moment. He declined to say whether he'd remain as coach, but the Storm being back, finally, good or bad for fans?
Um, well, firstly, I'm really happy for Craig Bellamy. I hate the Storm as a Manly fan, but I've always admired and respected Craig Bellamy. So I'm happy that he gets a win. In terms of it's been really rough for him. Uh, is it good for fans that the Storm won a game? Yes. Is it good if the Storm make the 8? No. I don't want them to be the first ones to ever break the curse, the 50-point curse.
Mate, I'd be shocked if they still didn't make the 8 somehow, but yeah, we'll be interested to
Yeah,
see
they've got a
how that.
steep climb though, and Origin's going to hurt them. So
They do.
they've given away a lot of losses.
We did say that about Penrith last year. That is Penrith, but
That is Penrith. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, totally, mate. Yeah, it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible because I don't want to be my words to come back and bite me, but I don't want them to. Yeah.
Clip it up. Mate, as a
Yeah.
Broncos fan, I hate Melbourne, so I'm happy to say
Yeah.
that. We have a
Yeah.
very deep rivalry, as you are well aware,
Mhm.
Battle of Brookie as well,
Yeah.
so we can team up. We've at least agreed
Yeah.
on one thing, Alex. That's good to hear.
Totally. And Melbourne
Um,
suck. That's right.
we'll
Yeah.
take it. I clicked that up too. Mate, the Perth Bears, you'll have a bit to say about this then.
Mhm.
Named favourites already for the Wooden Spoon next year. Now, I've been reading some things. The clubs are reportedly pushing back on giving them any extra salary cap help. That's the big narrative
Yeah.
after we've seen what's happened with PNG. Rumblings that even Mal Meninga won't even coach the first game with stuff going on behind the scenes and that type of thing, but already being favourites of the Wooden Spoon. Is that good or bad for fans?
I think that's bad for fans. I don't think. I feel for Perth Bears administrators, in terms of they're not offered like PNG can get all this airtime, but they're not able to advertise the signings that they've made, and they haven't been able to secure a marquee signing. I think if they were able to have gotten Scott Drinkwater, that would have really helped. I don't know what
Mm,
happened there. How did they botch that? And if it was about Mal Meninga being drawing stars or having a power to attract great players, it doesn't seem to have worked. I'm actually really my concern about the Bears is that their leadership appointments are questionable. They've got a media CEO in there who doesn't seem to have the network over here. They've got his best mate in as the football manager, and then Mao doesn't have club coaching experience. He's not a well-regarded club coach. He's done great in the representative area, but there was just no evidence to show that he'd be great at building a club. So I'm really confused about the leadership appointments there. Is it bad for fans that the Bears come last? Yes, I don't think they will though. I
Yeah,
think I think they've got some ability. They've got some players there that can carve out some wins. So yeah, you need. I've been doing this research this week. In the last 10 years, every wooden spooner got 6 wins. So if you can get 7 wins in a season, you're probably not going to get the spoon. So can the Bears get 7 wins? I think they could. Yeah.
probably the bigger question is, can the Dragons?
I was going to say, I don't think the Dragons can. Yeah, that's my point. I think they still look terrible.
Yeah, and they are second favourites. So that'll be interesting. What has just been your take then on, obviously you got a bit of Perth blood in you, Bears blood in you, just on how they have approached it. Obviously I've made a bit about the PNG. We all know Jerome Luai sort of lit out a fire under everyone and what they can do now and what they're going to be able to achieve. We've seen this roster that Perth has to put out and start, preseason training at the end of the year. Don't even have a renowned hooker in their team just yet.
Yeah.
Just the way the NRL's approached this build-up when they have to go to an AFL-dominated city and give them no help. Obviously, the club signed off on it. But what have you made of just how the NRL's sort of putting it out there? We all wanted expansion, I think, and I think Perth was a lot of people's pick. But now it's getting so close. Have they fumbled the ball a bit?
There's been some fumbling for sure, because if the narrative right now is like, oh, it's so unfair and woe is Perth, that is not what that shows. You haven't got that champion edge or that premiership winning edge. Like you're a little bit chip on your shoulder, which can work. That's kind of Canberra's attitude. No one cares about Canberra. You look sometimes at their squad. I mean, last year most people tipped them for the spoon, so that could galvanise them. They could take it on and actually do really well. The problem is, one of the key problems I'm seeing is it's an NRL-owned club, and so is Papua New Guinea. So if you don't have an owner who's emotionally attached to it, whose identity is, I want this club to succeed, it is going to put it on the back foot because the NRL has to give their attention in many different directions. So I reckon that's kind of what undermined it as well. They need the NRL need PNG to succeed, and they need Perth to succeed, but there's a lot more money going into this PNG deal and a lot more attention, eyeballs, and political pressure. So yeah, it's been a little bit neglected for the Bears, which is unfair to them and an unfortunate reality of being owned by the NRL.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the NRL does sort of have to backtrack a little bit and then try and appease all the clubs at the same time and say, there is some sort of salary cap help that they can.
Oh man, they're not going to be able to do it. The clubs are not.
You reckon it's done? There's no chance?
Well, here's, and I haven't fully fact-checked. No, I have fact-checked this part. So the ARLC, that commission is voted in, or like on governance issues, every club has a vote, right? So there is a political relationship between the ARLC and the clubs, as in their stakeholders they have to keep happy to essentially either keep their jobs or get what they want done. So they have to weigh up the political cost of, if we do give because they can just go and do it. If we give the Bears cap space, a leniency, we're going to piss off our voting base, right? So if that's the case, like they need to chip in something for the clubs to be happy. And when I saw Shane Richardson's comments about the Bears, I can't remember if it was when he was had the job or post. He was like, they're getting nothing. Like, deal with it, get over it. Like, so I don't think the clubs are going to be very happy. So I don't think the ARLC is going to do anything.
Well, what was it? It was $4 million each for PNG, right? That's what they gave all the clubs, and it'd be a bit late in the piece now to say, 17 teams are going to get a $4 million little handout from the NRL with the TV rights deal on the way as well. So that's a lot of money.
They're not going to get that money, mate. No.
No, yeah, it's crazy. Well, good luck to Perth, man. I really want to see him succeed, and I think it's crucial that the NRL is a national. I'd love to see that, but. Then, I've got you on expansion. Then, who would you go after PNG? I've had this chat a bit with a lot of people lately. Who's your next team after PNG and Perth?
Yeah, so I think it's got to be either one or two places. It's either another team in Brisbane, or another team in Auckland. So Auckland, for the purpose of like rugby league, is booming there, and so you can. And Auckland's the major city by far, so you can start to build some rivalry down there as well, and then. If not, because Warriors fans are so diehard, it's got to be a New Zealand team, I think. Or let's say that expansion plan doesn't work. In fact, if it's not in Auckland, I don't think they should do it. I know there's this South Island push. I can't see it working. I feel like the population is too small. I'd go another Brisbane team. I think that Tigers bid, is it the Tigers?
East, yeah.
Sounds pretty appealing. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like the South Island. I don't know why. I haven't looked into the
Yeah.
logistics and I have no idea. I know the population's a concern as
Mhm.
well. I think it's the same, New Zealand's the same population as Queensland, right? It's like 5 million or
Mm.
whatever it is. But to put another team there and create some sort of New Zealand, Derby
Mhm.
origin, I'd love that. Or, I mean, cross-town city would be cool as well. I know when the Dolphins came in for Brisbane, that was an awesome thing. My only fear about Brisbane is that you want to see the Dolphins and even the Titans to a lesser extent succeed a bit more before you then bring in another team. The Dolphins still haven't even made the finals. And I
Yeah.
know, you know what I mean? I'd just like to see a little bit more success. I know Redcliffe has a lot of support behind them, but I'd like to see a
Mhm.
bit more success before you went in there and then stepped on the toes of those clubs. Obviously not the Broncos. No one gives a shit about the Broncos. They've had
Yeah.
enough success, but you know what I mean? The Dolphins and,
Yeah.
and the Titans as well, who are still struggling to make their mark after all these years. Another one to watch, mate. And finally, mate, Magic Round back
Mhm.
again, the 7th edition. Last year was the highest attended ever. I'm not sure if they can fit any more fans unless they start
Yeah.
counting the Caxton Street Hotel numbers.
Yeah.
But easy one, mate. Good or bad for fans to see Magic Round back again.
Oh, it's awesome, man. How good is it? Even I went in the worst year ever when it poured with rain for 2 of the 3 days, and I had terrible seats, and it was miserable, and it was still an unbelievable experience. I think what the has done there is fantastic. It does kind of eat into the narrative of Origin a little bit, being so close. So either Origin gets too much, it takes away from Magic Round, or Magic Round takes away from the first Origin game. But in general, I think it's awesome, fantastic.
Yeah, bring it on. It is going to be an Origin audition. That is like the cool
Yeah,
little, I guess, sideline to it, right? As if we didn't
yeah.
need enough excitement. This is going to
Mhm.
be, the team's obviously going to get a named after Magic Round. So bring it on in Brisbane. Can't wait to see it again. And Alex, thanks a lot for joining us, mate. It's going to be interesting. Should we do a bet? Broncos, Manly, who finishes higher?
Who finishes higher?
2026?
Manly, yeah, easy, mate. Manly finishes higher. You tell me what the stakes are,
Manly
because I'm
finishes
fully
higher.
convinced of that.
Oh, man. Do you have to wear the other person's jersey?
Yeah, yeah.
On the
Yeah,
hill?
yeah,
Yeah, you ready?
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
next game of Brookvale. You're locked in, mate. You're live now. You got to do
Yeah,
it.
easy,
All right,
that's sweet.
all right.
Man, no worries.
Whoever finishes
Happy to do
higher,
it.
you have to wear the other person's jersey. Next
Yeah,
Broncos Manly game at Brookvale.
great. Love it.
Locked,
Absolutely love it. That's a
lo-
great wager.
locked it in with Sophie, NRL
Yeah.
Soapbox. Thank you very much. And mate, just give a little shout out to yourself too and all the work that you do. Where can people find your work and that type of thing?
Anywhere where there's video, so YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm probably most active on Instagram, just NRL Soapbox.
Awesome, mate. Give him a follow. Does an awesome job, mate. Love following your content and seeing your rise. And thank you for taking the time for joining us on Season Ticket Holders, mate.
This is awesome, brother. Thanks so much.
Anytime. And mate, thank you for listening. And thanks everyone for your support. If you could give us a rating on Spotify and Apple, give us 5 stars. It would be a really big help. Thanks, guys. As always, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.